Hi guys, David here from BartenderHQ, and I'm doing a cocktail today for the guys over at the ScareTrack podcast. We're going to be making a zombie cocktail, so let's get right into it. Okay, so this is the zombie cocktail, and I've got everything set up a little bit ready, steady, cook style here, so obviously you probably won't keep your ice cubes in one of these little bowls normally, but just for ease of doing this drink, obviously it's going to make things a little bit easier. So for the cocktail, start off with your mixing glass. Now you can use whatever you've got handy. It's handy if you can shake the drink, but if you can't, you can build this drink. You can just pour everything in there and go for it. Give it a bit of a stir, that'll help it out, no problems. So we're going to start off with white and gold rum, and we're going to use half an ounce of each of these. Now, if you want to measure this at home, it makes it a little bit easier for you if you've got one of these, which is a double-ended jigger. This is a full shot, this is a double shot. If you haven't got one of these, which obviously a lot of people aren't going to have, you can actually use a bottle cap from your rum or whatever you've got to hand that can just make sure that you get everything the same proportions that you need. Now I'm going to include the full recipe, but we're going for half an ounce each of these two rums. Then we're going to need a quarter ounce of orgeat syrup normally in a zombie, which is like an almond syrup. For our purposes, we're going to use some more alcohol. We're going to use amaretto for this, so a quarter of an ounce. Then you'd also use apricot brandy, which again, a lot of you guys aren't going to have. It's only a quarter of an ounce, so it doesn't matter too much, and we're going to use peach schnapps, Archers, for most people. It's very similar, apricot and peach, very similar flavours, so just give that a little drop in there. Then the majority of your juice in this drink is pineapple juice. It's a Tiki style drink, so you need a shot and a half of that. Then we're going to pop in, I use really chunky ice, so I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but I've got two huge ice cubes in here. I'm going to pour all of that over the top, slam it shut and give it a good shake. Now I shake for about 12 seconds, it gives you a really cold drink on the outside. Now when it feels like you've been doing this for far too long, that's about right. So we're going to break that open. Now ideally you want to use a Hawthorn strainer, just like this, to strain your ice out. If you haven't got one, you can actually use the bottom of the glass, just pop it in there, it'll hold the ice back. But we're just going to pop a brand new cubed ice into the top of the Collins glass. Now this is a standard sort of glass that you'll see in a lot of bars. But it's perfect for this kind of drink. Strain that nicely over the fresh ice. And with this drink, we're actually going to top it with dark rum. Now, I'm using Gold of Mauritius. This is actually kind of halfway between a gold and a dark rum. How dark it is basically just depends on how long it's sat in the barrels aging. But we're just going to use a little bit of that. Float that right on top of the drink. And then a couple of straws, and our zombie is complete. Cheers. So there it is, guys, that's the zombie cocktail for ScareTrack. I'm going to put the whole recipe up at bartenderhq.com/ScareTrack, so you can find that nice and easily. A few top tips for you guys if you want to make your cocktails even better. So the first thing is making sure that you don't skimp on the ice. Ice is probably the most important ingredient in 90% of cocktails, and if you don't use enough ice, you're going to have a watered down drink and it's not going to be cold enough. If you use poor quality ice, if you use stuff that's already wet, that sort of thing, it's not going to make you a good drink. So please make sure you use good ice, just make it up in your freezer, chuck it in a poly bag, and you'll be good to go. Number two, shake it hard and long. So I shake normally for around about 12 seconds. It feels far too long, but that's what you need. You need to make sure that drink's nice and cold. Number 3, garnishing. If you want to garnish this zombie cocktail, you can make it look really, really nice with just a chunk of pineapple on the side of the glass there. You can basically garnish any cocktail you want with any fruit that's kind of related to the drink that you're making. Measuring out, as I said at the beginning of the video, if you use the cap from the bottle, whether it's as a full shot or as a half a shot, and just make sure you multiply it up for all the other stuff, you're going to get a cocktail that works. And presentation, those straws at the end, don't bend them. If you bend the straws, it makes it look like they're in 1990. So head over to bartenderhq.com/ScareTrack to get the full recipe, and I'll pop this video up on there as well. If you want to follow my adventure with the Flair project, I am basically crowdsourcing a Flair routine that is flipping bottles for the World Championships in 2016 that I'm going to be entering, and I'd love you guys to follow along with all the fun. It's at theflairproject.com.